Hello, good day, and welcome to the Toon podcast with me, Lee, and I'm joined today by Bobby, and we're going to be doing a little preview of the Bournemouth away game coming up this weekend, Sunday, the 25th at a 2 p.m. kickoff local time. That'll be not too bad, 11 p.m. Sunday night game for us here in Oz, at least for most of us anyway, not including the West Coast. Bobby, mate, how the hell are you doing? How did you feel about that win at the weekend?
I'm doing good, Lee. Love the new intro, by the way. Get on that. That's well done. I think it was hard to tell. We got a red card pretty early in the piece, which sort of made things more difficult. But I thought we controlled the game regardless. And it was good to see Joel Linton back to his absolute best. He's a beast, and a lot of good signs, I thought, other than the red card, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think we're quite up to speed yet. It'll be interesting to see how we do away from home, but I don't know. I think we felt we looked a little bit leggy. We looked a little bit slow towards the ball. We gave the ball up a little bit too easy for my liking, and I want to see some improvements this weekend against Bournemouth. I mean, we're not, as we'll get into, we're not going to expect too much from Bournemouth. I don't want to be disrespectful to the opposition, but I feel like we should have enough to get past them and get the 3 points. But I think we're going to have to play somewhat better than we did against Southampton. So let's just talk a little bit about Bournemouth. They finished last season in 12th, 48 points, which is their highest points tally ever in the Premier League. So mid-table, 48 points. They won 13, drew 9, lost 16 with a minus 13 goal difference. And they basically won 7 at home and drew 6 and lost 6. Again, I don't want to be disrespectful to the opposition, but that's a kind of a middling performance for a middling type team. Would you agree, Bobby?
I think the term we used was bang average, and I think they're bang average. And that's without trying to be too disrespectful to them. But, there's nothing outstanding. But they're a team that on the right day could trouble us, like every single Premier League team. So we can't take them or disrespect them too much. But those stats, watching them play against Forest, I think we should account for them.
Well, look, last season they beat us 2-0 at the Vitality Stadium. They beat us 2-0. That was Solanke with both goals. Now, we don't have to worry about Solanke anymore. We'll get onto him in a little bit, but they've had a fairly good pre-season, unbeaten by the looks of things. They won 2 and drew 2. Drew against Wrexham and Arsenal, although they did lose on penalties, I believe, on that one. And won the other 2, with the last one being against Girona, 3-2. Their last game, which was the first game for them, of course, in the new season, was at Forest, so away. They conceded really early, 20th minute, give or take, 25th minute maybe, something like that. Good old Chris Wood, banging them in still, loves it. What an absolute fox in the box. One of his classic, just arrive in the box late and tap it in. It looked like they kind of laboured. Looking at the stats, Forest had the majority of the play and most of the shots, as you might expect from the home team, I suppose. But, they laboured through that game until it was only until the 86th minute that Semenyo, is that how you pronounce it? Semenyo? Scored the equaliser. And it was in large part thanks to a massive balls up from the defence of Forest. If they had have cleared that ball quite easily instead of kicking it against themselves and presenting it right in front of their goal, I imagine that Bournemouth would have lost that game. But I don't know. Perhaps that speaks to their never give up attitude. Who knows? 1-1 against Forest away. We'll get into the team in just a second, but I don't know how much you saw of that game, and did you have any opinions on what you saw from Bournemouth?
I thought they were outplayed, especially in the first half. I did watch majority of this game, and I think they were, they would be happy with the result, but I don't think they'd be encouraged by the performance. They're missing 2 vital cogs in their team. So Solanke up front, and we'll touch on our boy Kelly, who might get a gig this week. from the defence, and I think that they'll take a bit of time to getting used to those two pillars coming out. And they look like it. They were pretty much second to the ball. And Forest, I don't think, are going to be absolutely incredible this season either. So there's a lot of questions on how they'll go. But a bit like us, maybe, dusting off the cobwebs after a pre-season, getting into the Premier League season, being away from home, they have all had factors.
No, absolutely. Let's just quickly take a look at that team that they did have against Forest. Now, I'm assuming, because I'm not a Bournemouth fan, and neither are you, that this will be the same team they pump out against us at home. So the two major omissions, actually, I think there's three, because Billing didn't play either. He came on as a late substitute, I believe, but Phil Billing, who had a pretty good season last year. I can't remember how many he scored, but I remember him popping up and banging a few in here and there when Solanke was doing the same. So, yeah, as you mentioned, they've lost Kelly in that central defence area, and they've lost Solanke up top. But their team, and again, apologies to everybody's name who I get wrong, which will basically be most of this team by the looks of it. Neto in goal, that's easy. Huysen, I'm already doing it. So it was, I'll just read off the thing. Kirkes, Huysen, I don't know. Zabrani, Smith. That one's easy. Smith, I can do that one. Cook, easy. Scott, banging it. Sinatra, Taviana, Watatara, and Semenyo, which I'm sure. I do apologize. I'm sure most of those names are complete bollocks. Yeah, when you look at the team, you can, and obviously they didn't start with Billing, like I just said. So where do you see the threat coming from? I'm looking at the preseason here, and Semenyo banged in one, and Siniestra scored 2, I think. And there's always Cliver as well, who also appears to not have started last week either. So they do have some threats in and around the team. But do you think they're going to struggle? I think you just touched on this, but do you think they're going to struggle without the likes of Solanke up top, who was, I think, an excellent player and a really good transfer for Spurs?
Yeah, I think, I like Solanke. I think we've had chats last season about when he was linked to us. I was very happy with that. A lot of the Newcastle fans on Twitter weren't, but I thought he's a wonderful talent and has all the tools to be a quality striker in the right system and right formation. So yeah, they'll miss him. And I don't know, unless they've obviously got an influx of cash come in now. So unless they spend it on another striker that they can attract, or an attacking threat that they can get, I don't see where their goals are going to come from. As you said, they didn't look like scoring last week, and it was a cox up by Forest that allowed them to score, and it was, a poacher's goal at the end. But I don't see the threat. I mean, I remember playing Bournemouth away, and they're a plucky team, and they've got some good system and style, and their crowd get really into it. But they did have some attacking threats that would make you look twice. I just can't see it with this team. So, yeah, it will be interesting to see how they go, unless one of these players that I won't even try to pronounce their name turn out to be good Premier League players. I don't see where the threat is at the moment.
Yeah, and again, we assume this will be the same team because we don't have anything else to go off. Not being fans, it might be the case that Billing comes in, who I think is another excellent player that they have there. But you have to think that the loss of Solanke, just even by itself, even if you don't think about the defensive side of things with Kelly, he's such a good player. To me, I think he would have been a fantastic player for us. He might not have wanted to play back up to Isak, which is fair enough. But yeah, I think given the choice between him and Wilson, I would have went Solanke, given the history of injuries that Wilson has and all the rest of it. So yeah, I'll be interested to see how they go. They might end up taking up a more defensive posture at home, but you wouldn't necessarily expect that from a home team. But we'll have to wait and see how they get on, and see how Dr. Octopus, the manager, sets them all up for this particular game. What's his name? Andoni Areola. Yeah. Dr. Octopus, let's be honest. Never seen them two in the same room at the same time. What does that tell you? All right, let's talk about Newcastle then. So probably the same team as last week, except for one glaring omission, which will be, of course, Shaw, who got the red card. I really don't want to get into that one again, which is such a nightmare situation. First game of the season, banned for 3 games. Have we have we appealed that one yet? Did you see any sign of us appealing that?
Not that I've seen. I've had a really busy week, so I haven't really been paying attention. But yeah, it's very hard reading on after the game, reading up, because the first thing I thought is we should appeal, but apparently it's very hard to get that one overturned. So I didn't like our chances from a long way out.
No, I mean, you can't argue the fact that he didn't put his head forward, because he obviously did. I think it's just the shittiness of the situation that the other guy, shit Jesus, I like to call him, he didn't get anything. Oh, he got yellow, sorry, but he, he was the instigator. He leans in as well afterwards, and yet he walks away with a yellow.
It's one of the worst rules in the sport. This, how you can't overturn a decision straight away like that. Like, someone should be able to say, "Hey, ref, you've been conned. It's okay. Just bring him back on. Give him a yellow. Have a talk to him and tell him cut it out and get on with it." I think it's too big a penalty. You're not only talking about in the game, but you're talking about now for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
For that, it's just rubbish to me.
At least get reviewed on the screen and be told at least to send them both off. I mean, they both did the same bloody thing, except shit Jesus is the one who started the whole thing by belting Shaw in the back of the head, when the whistle had already gone, for God's sake, the game had stopped. I mean, anyway, look, I said I wasn't going to get into it, and here we are banging on about it. We can't change anything. It is what it is. So we do not have Shaw for this game. So the team that we are predicting is pretty much exactly the same, just with the changeover. So it'll be Pope, Hall, Kelly, Byrne, Tino, Joe Bruno, and Longy, and Gordon, Isaac, and Murphy. That's what I think we are suggesting is going to be the lineup. Any other changes that you were tempted to make for this one? Maybe Barnes, maybe some other kind of change in midfield, perhaps? Is Joey Willock due back? Is he back? Is he fit? Any temptations there?
Not really. I know what Eddie's like. You won't change a winning team without something drastically happening. I think he's got to get, like, as you said, we've got to get the new season ahead, so more game time together, more system work and stuff like that. So he'd be very reluctant to take players out unless he has to, like Shah. And I think the lineup is probably as good as we can have now. And even if Willock was back, I'd say he wouldn't be starting. He'd be coming off the bench anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk a bit about Kelly then. So I remember when this transfer was being discussed in the summer, and I think it was the first signing that we made, wasn't it? And it was actually arranged even before the window opened. Was that right? It was sort of mid-June.
Feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, man. So I remember lots of people saying, "Who's this guy? He's shit. He plays for Bournemouth. They're shit. He's not good enough for the Toon. We don't. Why do we even need him? All this kind of stuff." First game of the season, Shaw gets sent off. We've got Botman who's injured. We basically have nobody else for example, assuming that we didn't make this Kelly signing, right? And I'm not even talking about how good he is or how much of a job he's going to do for us. Like, if we didn't make that signing, who else would you have put in center of defense right now? Who would you have? Which would you put Target on the left and pulled Hall into the middle?
Lascelles, is he around?
Lascelles, I don't even know what's going on with Lascelles.
Yeah, I have no idea. Kraft, I don't know. Like, Kraft, honestly, yeah, Kraft can do a job, but would you want him there for a full game and starting? I don't know. Yeah, you're right. Like, I mean, this is why the Guehi situation is occurring and what's happening with that. We obviously want another starting centre back to come into the team. News from Sky Sports is that we're very confident this deal will be struck. So
plus
65 million
plus add-ons.
Yeah, so it'll be a big transfer fee, but it's obviously an area we recognise that we're very short on. So I don't know, to answer your question, who would come in? Well, without a major signing, we'd have to band-aid like we did last season a lot of the time. And would that be a Kraft that came in because he's dependable? I don't know.
Well, my boy, he's not very good. Let's be honest. Kraft isn't very good. He's not terrible. Don't get me wrong. He's not like absolutely useless. He's an international after all. He has some ability, and I actually think there were points last season where he was getting up to speed before. Did he get injured? I can't remember. When he was actually starting to look pretty decent down the right hand side, but he's not the kind of person you want to be taking over that centralized position. Not in my mind, at least. Did a pretty good job last week, though, in fairness. And let's just think about Guehi for a second here. So, and I'm only ever going to call him Guehi. I refuse to call him anything else. So let's say that this 65 mil plus add-ons is accepted. And apparently Palace are looking at 2 defenders now because they've just agreed to sell Anderson to Fulham. He's another good player. Gets a few goals. Let's say Guehi signs, not necessarily for this game, but perhaps the next one or the one after that. Next, let's say the next Premier League game next Wednesday. So who are you putting at the back? Do you drop Guehi straight in there alongside Burn? Is that how you do it?
Eddie doesn't play new signings no matter how good they are straight away, does he? He sort of integrates them into the squad, integrates them into the team. Depends how desperate we are. I mean, Shah's back in 3 games.
Yeah, but doesn't that just confuse the situation even further? Let's say that Guehi needs a few weeks to get up to speed or whatever into the system. Then you've got Burn and Shaw back. That means you're going to look. You're potentially looking at dropping one of those 2. Who do you drop? Unless you go 5 at the back, but who do you? Which is not going to do. But who do you? What do you do? Do you put Burn left? And because I think Hall was very shaky at times last week. I'm still not convinced of him being a left back.
Yeah.
Would you potentially move him out of the team and then take the hit that he's never going to get that experience to improve his game, perhaps in the big games, and put Burn there? I know we all know how slow Burn is. Or do you drop Shaw or do you drop Burn? What do you do?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. Like, I think you've got to get them all up to speed. You play the person, obviously people are going to fall in and out of form. Like a Burn could go out of form. So, you could rotate that way. I think Guehi, as you call him, for 65 million plus add-ons has to start.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? You'd think so.
Yeah, like I think that he'd be one that you wouldn't start. It's like the money we spent on Isaac and you don't start him. Just not going to happen. So he would start, and then I think you'd play whatever player has the most form or plays in the same way. So maybe you do play a Shah with him and you have Burn at left back because we know that Eddie loves it and can go back to 3 at the back. It's, in transition and stuff like that. So there'll be hopefully a method to the madness in what they're trying to do here. And hopefully Eddie and Mitchell, are on the same page. And they've got a plan in place.
Yeah, you'd think so. I mean, there has to be an idea of what they're going to do with this record club signing, if it is correct, these numbers being banded around here, what they're going to do with this guy, assuming he signs on the dotted line. Kelly can play left back as well, so another option is you stick Kelly down the left, and you have Burn and Guehi in the middle, or Shaw and Guehi in the middle. But it's going to be one of those. What I just hope it's not going to do is cause any kind of friction with the team. Now, you don't really expect that to be the case with us because we have that great team ethic, and we have the everyone's together. We could do the photographs after every single win and all that kind of business, and everyone looks like they're on the same page. I think that's great to an extent, but sooner or later, players get a little bit itchy feet when they're not getting enough games that they think they should be playing, perhaps. And you've got to remember, there are cup games as well that we have to get people into and playing for those as well. So there could be some rotation when it comes to the cups. But it's interesting, let's hope he does sign. I hope he plays better than last week. I think he got done a little bit there for their goal against, who was it, Brentford, I think. Hopefully, first game of the season, maybe a little bit rusty. Hopefully he's good.
His head you could tell his head wasn't in it.
And that's the other thing. Yeah, maybe his head's being turned. Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't he be? It's fucking Newcastle, man. Who's not going to have the head turned about that? You can get amongst it.
And his best mate Gordon's in the team. All that sort of stuff. Like, I think.
And he loves St James's Park.
He does, like everyone else. I just saw an interview with Desai, who used to play for Chelsea, and said St James's Park was the best stadium he played in. So
you hear it a lot. You hear it a lot from the pros. Yeah.
It is. Like, I mean, we've both been there. We've both experienced the utter noise that comes out of the stadium when we're doing well. So it must be amazing to be on the pitch when that's happening. So yeah, we've got a lot going for us, and if we keep making these signings of 65 million plus for a defender, then we should be challenging for Europe not too far away.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to be there or thereabouts, surely. Just to finish off on the talk about Kelly, how do you rate Kelly? He did all right last week, didn't he? He's played 141 times for Bournemouth, so he's got plenty of experience in Bournemouth team. He was actually signed by Eddie Howe from Bristol to Bournemouth, and now Eddie's signed him again from Bournemouth to Newcastle. And he's interesting enough. I've got his quote here when he signed, but I was just interested at the end where he says he's played plenty of games, lots of experience, but he's at an age where he can still develop and he's got lots of potential. So Eddie's obviously seen that potential right from an early age, and he's not been dissuaded yet that he hasn't got that potential still under up his sleeve somewhere. So how do you see Kelly? Is he a long-term solution to a particular position? Do you think he's going to be a long-term centre-back?
I've always liked him, and I remember when he signed from Bristol to Bournemouth, there was massive raps, and it was a big signing by Bournemouth at the time. And Howe made him captain, I'm pretty sure, at a very, very young age. So he's obviously got a good head on his shoulders. He's a leader. He's very athletic, tall. He's pretty quick as well. He covers the ground pretty well. So I think he's got the tools, and I think Eddie's right. Like, he can be a player that comes in and makes a difference. But yeah, it's a wait and see. I've always liked him. I thought he's a quality player for Bournemouth, but he's been around for a long time, but he's not that old, is he?
No. Was he 23 or something? Something like that. He probably wasn't expecting to get 3 games right at the start of the season. So hopefully he's ready to come into the side, slot in there, and take the place of Shah. I wonder if he's got a goal threat. Shah's always got that raking blammo from outside the box kind of shot, hasn't he? And sometimes a header. So it'll be interesting to see if he's got any kind of goal threat going forward. We're kind of getting off topic a little bit with this next one, but I just wanted to, before we get to our predictions and wrap this up, because that's more or less all we can talk about. Tonali. So he's serving the last of his Premier League ban, last game for his ban. So there'll be the cup midweek, I think it is, isn't it, against Forest, and then we play Spurs. I think it is next after this one, next weekend. He will be in contention, or at least he's selectable for that game. So let's imagine that is correct. I think that's right. So you're Eddie Howe now. You see that Tonali's available for selection. He looks ripped. He looks like he's been just basically running non-stop for like 12 months, which I hope he has been, frankly. But he looks like he's just raring to go. Would you bring him straight into the team? At Spurs, it's going to be very difficult. Would you ease him in with a cup game if we get past Forest, for example? Or, as I say, would you just bring him straight in? And I assume you would just eject Longy, would you, in this team? You get rid of Sean and stick in Tonali? Is that what you would do?
I think long term, that midfield three of Tonali, Bruno, and Joe Linton is our strongest team. 100%. I think it's a world class midfield, that one. But I think for now you integrate him into the side. But he can be as fit as he wants. But there's match fitness, there's touch, there's stuff he's missed for the 12 months or however long he's been out for, that he'll take time to get back. You probably integrate him into games where we're on top, or looks like we're winning, and you give him 10 minutes here, and then 20 minutes, and then 30 minutes, and then until he's comfortable. And you'll know from his performances and training and the GPS trackers that they do on them, and all the different tech they've got now and data, that when he's probably ready to go in and start a game. I think, as I said, long term, I think he's a definite in that midfield three. And the way Joel Litton's looking with Bruno as captain and Tonali, I think that midfield will devastate a lot of teams, to be honest.
It does look like a very, very tasty midfield, doesn't it? Let's hope we get to see that plenty of times this season. All right, look, mate, I mean, that's 25 minutes worth of talking about stuff, getting names wrong and all the rest of it. So only one last thing to do. Let's get your prediction, mate, for this game. And if you want, chance your hand at the scores. The prediction, really. What you got?
I'm going to go Bournemouth 1, Newcastle 2. I think Isaac will score 1, and I think Gordon will score the other.
Yeah, I was tempted with a 2-1 win, but I think I'm going to go for a 2-0 win. I don't see them. I think they're going to be really weakened without Solanke. If Billen starts, who knows? But I even just going by last week, I don't think they look like much of a threat. And I think we will have a little bit too much for them. So I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to the mighty bloody Toon. However, I will take that 2 out of 2. And we'll be flying in the league. All right, Bobby, anything else you want to add in before we wrap this one up?
No, let's hope we get Guehi in the next couple of days, and we'll go from there.
Go on, Guehi. Yeah, right. Fingers crossed. Let's watch the space on that one. I'm looking forward to seeing if he signs and just how well he does for the Toon. All right, brilliant. Bobby, thanks for your time. Sorry. Thanks to everybody who's watched and listened. And we will see you for the next one, which will almost certainly be the review of the Bournemouth game, where hopefully Newcastle have two. I was going to say 2 points. That's not right. 3 beautiful points. 3 points, not 2. 3. All right. Cheers, Bobby. Thanks, everyone.
See you, mate. Cheers.